Now a budget response by the Right Honourable Gordon Brown MP, Shadow Chancellor.
Tonight I want to tell you what I would have announced in a Labour budget to ensure a better future for you and your family. I want to tell you about 5 changes I think are important, things that matter to us all, and how we'll pay for them. Smaller classes in our schools, shorter health service waiting lists, jobs for our young people, a stable economy, and fair tax with a cut in VAT on fuel. 5 ways to make us all better off. Now, I'm not going to pretend that all Britain's problems can be solved overnight. They can't. But there is action we can take on education, on health, on jobs, on the things that matter to us all. And yesterday's budget did not even begin to address the real problems families face. And perhaps many of you watching tonight, whether you vote Labour or Conservative, will conclude after that budget that for any government, 17 years in office is just too long. You see, yesterday's budget gave with one hand, and then it took away with the other. Petrol went up, so did the tax you pay on insurance, and on air travel, your holidays. The Conservatives took away tax help for your profit-related pay as well, another tax rise for 4 million people. And hidden in the small print, along with an increase in prescription charges to £5.65, they extended VAT into new areas yet again. And what the Chancellor didn't tell you is that after yesterday's budget, you will be paying more tax, not less. Nor did he tell you that even before yesterday's tax rises, the Conservatives had put up taxes 22 times since the last general election. That's 22 tax rises since the election campaign where the Prime Minister promised he would cut your taxes every year. Just remember Mr Major's promise, there will be no VAT increase, but still he put VAT on your heating bills. Remember at the last election he promised also, I have no plans to raise national insurance, but he did. And you recall again, at the same election, the Prime Minister said, never would it be so wrong to increase tax, but he did. And for a typical family, these 22 tax rises mean an extra bill of £2,120. Now just think what you and your family could have done with that £2,100. £2,100 per family. And where has all that money gone? Well, I'll tell you where it's gone. The government have spent it, just like they've spent the money from North Sea Oil on paying the bills for unemployment, welfare and crime, paying the cost of government failure. Now that's why we've been falling behind. And just look at what we've now got to do to catch up with our competitors. The World Prosperity League measures the standards of living in different countries. Since 1979, Britain has been falling down the league from 13th to 18th. And we're now behind countries like Italy, Hong Kong and Singapore. So why aren't we doing better? Why haven't we been moving up the league? You know, the British people are inventive, we're creative, we work hard, we're willing to move with the times. But still our economy has fallen because of failures in education, in investment and in employment. You know, under the Conservatives, Britain actually invests less per employee than all our major competitors. In Germany and in France, the typical employee is supported by £7,000 of investment in the equipment they use. Even in Spain today, it's now £6,000. In Britain, it's just £4,000. And without investment in the latest machinery and technology, even the most skilled and hard-working employees cannot compete. So how do we equip ourselves for the future so that you and your family will be better off? Well, first, we must encourage the investment in new technology that businesses need if they're to grow and expand. And that's what Labour will do. And then secondly, we'll invest in education. Tomorrow's economy demands high levels of education and skills for everyone. But today, Britain is not first in the World Skills League. We're 42nd. Yet the more you learn, the more you will be able to earn. So let's start with what's got to be done in our schools. How can our children get the education they need when they're trying to learn in overcrowded classrooms? You know, it makes me angry that this morning more than 1 million of our children went to primary school and sat in classes of more than 30. So that's why our first pledge is to cut class sizes to 30 or under for all 5, 6 and 7-year-olds. And to pay for this, we will phase out the private school assisted places scheme because we want to help all our children and not just a few. And in the modern economy, education is for life. So we'll give everyone, whatever your age, the opportunity to learn new skills. That's why we'll establish a new university for industry that will use cable and satellite technology so that employees can learn from the workplaces and mothers and fathers can learn from their homes. But of course, there's no point in having skills if you don't have a job. And indeed, Britain can never build a strong economy when unemployment wastes the talents of millions. It's time to tell the truth about the scale of unemployment. In Britain today, 1 family in every 5 has no one bringing home a wage. 19% of working-age households where no one is earning. Much worse than in France, much worse than in Germany, much worse than in America. And let me tell you about a 19-year-old constituent of mine who left school 3 years ago, has been trying to find work ever since. Now, he's done youth training, he's answered dozens of adverts, but he's still to find his first real job. And all of us know young people like him, full of ambition, but whose hopes are steadily being crushed. He wants to work, but the government is not working for him. And there are 600,000 young people like him in our country who want to work and who need jobs. Our costed programme will offer options for work, training and education, but no option just to sit at home doing nothing, claiming full benefit. So our second pledge is to get unemployed young people back to work. That will make us all better off by cutting the costs of welfare. And we'll pay for our plan with a windfall levy on the excessive profits of the privatised utilities. Now, if I'd been delivering yesterday's budget, I would also have set tough rules to keep inflation low and to control government spending and borrowing. After 2 recessions under this government, we need stability. But unfortunately, prices in Britain today are actually rising faster than among all our major competitors like France and Germany. So under this government, we're not best in Europe for inflation. We're 11th out of 15. We'll make sure our inflation performance matches those of our European competitors so that we can keep both inflation and interest rates low. So our third pledge is to be prudent in our management of the economy. And we'll also be prudent on government spending and borrowing, because it's by being prudent that we can make the improvements we need in our frontline public services, like the NHS. You know, there are now 20,000 more administrators, but 50,000 fewer nurses in the NHS since the government's health service reforms were introduced. I want the money wasted on bureaucrats to go instead to frontline patient care. Too many patients, including cancer patients, are waiting too long. So my fourth pledge is that by cutting red tape, we will cut NHS waiting lists, so that for you and your family, the health service is there when you need it. Now, I know that many families in Britain today are having to work harder and harder just to stand still. You've been hit by 22 tax rises, while a privileged few, like those in the boardrooms of the privatised water companies, just don't pay their fair share. Yet these are the very people who would gain most from the Conservatives' pledge to abolish capital gains tax and abolish inheritance tax. I don't think that's fair. If there's money around, it should go to those who deserve it. And my objective is to move towards a new lower starting rate of tax of 10 pence. Now that's a tax change that would reward hard work, it would help people into jobs, and it's fair because it would help every taxpayer, not just a few. But there's one tax change that I'd make immediately. That's my fifth pledge, to cut VAT on all our heating bills. Now, any decent government would understand the worries of pensioners about the gas and electricity bills and the unfairness of VAT on heating. The Chancellor didn't cut VAT on heating yesterday. Indeed, he has said he wants to double it from 8 to 17.5%. I would cut VAT on heating to 5%, the lowest level allowed. So my budget would help not just the few. Every family in Britain would be better off. We'd all be better off with smaller classes in our schools, shorter health service waiting lists, jobs for our young people, a stable economy equipped for the future, and fair tax with that cut in VAT on fuel. With New Labour, you will be better off. Your family will be better off. Britain will be better off.
That was a budget response by the Right Honourable Gordon Brown MP, Shadow Chancellor.